Welcome, everybody, to Everlasting Veteran Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Landry. I am coming to you with an amazing individual, a Season 7 winner of The Voice, Team Blake, Craig Wayne Boyd, hailing from the great state of Texas, multi-instrumentalist, and the winner of the NBC's The Voice. Without further ado, let's get into the show because I am excited about this. He's got new music coming out. Let it ride, let it roll. Craig Wayne Boyd.
Sunrise on the horizon, a fresh wind pushing my back. Pegged down on the dashboard, know if I'm going that I'll be going fast. So let it ride, let it roll. Pay no mind to the swerves and the curves and all I can control. Come rain or shine, I'm going with the flow. Just let it ride, let it go.
What's going on there, Craig? Nice to have you on Everlasting Veteran Podcast. I appreciate you taking your time to jump on and tell your story.
Man, glad to be here.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, Everlasting Veteran, I have everybody on from musicians to comedians to veterans to military members and everything else. And I just love getting perspective from everybody because I do believe that we all can share a little bit of insight with each other to improve each other's lives as well.
Well, maybe you can help me out. Do you have kids?
I do have three.
Have you ever been stuck in the car with a 4-year-old for 12 hours?
Oh,
that hasn't figured out the volume levels yet.
Oh, absolutely, man.
How do you fix that?
yeah. It's definitely, yeah, it's definitely a journey being a father, and just seeing them bloom and blossom into like their own individuals and carving out their own path in life. It's a beautiful thing to watch, but at the same time, I mean, you just want to pull your hair out sometimes.
Well, the reason we ended up with so many is because the first, getting into 3 of them was great, man. It was easy. It was like, man, if it's this easy, I'm going to keep going. And then you get COVID comes along, and you get 4 and 5, and then oh wow, okay,
yeah,
a whole different ball game. No, I was kidding. I love them all.
That's great, and it's a testament to your family and your values and everything else. You obviously value family a lot, and being a father and raising them right and being a role model for them. How has it been as far as the journey goes? Even before The Voice, how has it been for you being a father, having music in your life, and trying to be a musician and carve out that path for you?
Well, it immediately comes to my mind that I was an accidental father, but I don't think that there's ever an accident. So I guess it was meant to be that I was set out to be a father. I at 34 years old, I would have told you that I didn't have any plans to be a father. And that was changed for me when my son, I got a phone call and was like, we have a kid on the way. And I'm like, oh, all right, here we go. And I guess I had the desire way back in the back of me, but I had been so maybe selfish, it would be the word, because I was chasing a career in music, and I was like, well, that might be a hindrance. Little did I know that it would just change my perspective on how fatherhood and how life would be for me. And Jackson came along, and wow, did he change my world. He's now 11 going on 17, and just wonderful. He's a musician like myself, following in my footsteps. Amazing artist. He can paint and draw better than most adults that I know. I'm putting him with guys like Guy Gilchrist and the guys that created the Muppets. Oh, really? And he's like hanging with, like, learning from these guys. It's pretty wild. And then on the music side, doing the same thing. And all the rest of them, he has been kind of the leader of the pack underneath me, I guess you would say. But so far as the young kids go, he's the leader of the pack. And man, it's been cool for me because we decided very sporadically to take a drive through Texas. Brought the family with me because I had some radio station interviews and some shows down in Texas, and I was like, "Oh, let's take the whole family. Let's go." And it's been fun the past few days to see the dynamic work out. It's been cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you have a new single out, and music video, "Let It Ride, Let It Roll." It's a good song. Just I was playing in my car to and from work the last couple days and everything. I was even listening to it before this episode. I love it. It's a great song. What inspired you kind of to write, get into that? Did you write it? And what does that kind of song mean to you?
That song started out as kind of therapy for me. A lot of my songs are, sometimes there's storylines that come to me, but this one in particular was more real life for me, and trying to navigate letting things go that are beyond your control. You figure out that when you're put into situations, you figure out what kind of personality that you have, and mine is I like to micromanage, and and sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. And,
Right.
but you find yourself, one of the statements as a young kid was told to me was, make a little cup, put it all in there, and just let it go. And that's hard to remember, but when you have something physical like that you can do, it does help you. And for me on this one this was kind of a new reiteration of that statement of just let it ride, let it roll. What you can't control, you got to be a duck and let it roll off your back.
Yeah. Yeah. Very well put. I mean, and that's why, the reason why, I started this podcast is, one, I wanted not just the veteran community, but, I seen a need, for our country as well. Like, people are hurting, people, are going through stuff, and, having an outlet to be able to listen to, be able to see, be able to get perspective from other people. You may not always get it from somebody that you would think you would, and it's not always one of those things where, like, even in the music industry, the veteran world, as a police officer myself, if you surround yourself with the same people all the time, you're only going to kind of close your mind off to perspective, the bigger picture of the world, and that's why I have so many different guests on, and I love doing this. Um, and it's phenomenal to be able to just hear from other people, even yourself as well, of being a father, and the journey that you're going through, as a human. And a lot of people forget, like, at the end of the day, we're just all human. You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
it's one of those.
We're all the same. We're all on a life journey, and it takes
Right.
everybody's journey is different.
Right,
Um,
right.
yeah, and it does help to talk to other people and get their perspectives on things. And being open minded is something that I feel is everyone is found their platform, and that's what they stick to. And this is where I'm at, and you're not ever going to change my mind. And sometimes we should be open to, maybe we just look at it from a different lens.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's that old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But at the same time, like, there's always room for improvement, right? There's always room for improvement in, a career, a personal life. But if you're not 100% yourself, where are you going to be able to stand trying to improve anywhere else?
This is
Um,
true.
so, but so the Texas radio tour, what's that all about? What's going on with that? How, has it happened? Did it not happen?
Well,
Still
so
on it?
what's been cool for me, and it's a little bit of my journey, is I started playing music full time I started playing music at the age of 4. I've been on stage since I was about 5 years old. Growing up here in Texas, where I'm at the moment, I at a young age, I think I started playing bass full time at church when I was 13 years old. From that, I got my first record deal when I was 19,
Wow.
and it was in the rock market, being a bass player and a harmony singer for other people. When I opened my mouth, I realized that I had too much twang in it, and that rock music was not where I was supposed to be at. I was a country boy. and I grew up on a healthy dose of bluegrass music. And my mom, where I'm at now, I'm at her house, visiting her with the family, and she was a gospel lady. She's still she's Pentecostal, which is how I grew up. She has long hair and long skirt, and that's the way she views the world, and that I love that. But my dad was a bluegrasser and a honky tonker, and he would go out and play in the bars, playing music and stuff. And that's kind of a little bit of where my musical background comes from. So it's a healthy dose of gospel and the honky tonk country stuff. And that took me down a path of leaving. Once I realized that I wanted to write songs and really hone that craft, I wanted to go to where I could learn. It was kind of the school of hard knocks, if you will. So I moved, packed up everything I had in the back of a red Chevy pickup truck and took off to Texas. I mean, to Nashville. I'm sorry, from Texas. There we go.
From Texas, yep.
From Texas to Nashville. And man, it was a fun journey, fun experience for me, because I grew up knowing about a 100-mile radius from where I was born and raised, and then all of a sudden I'm traveling the world, literally traveling the world, playing music and playing music with other guys. It was pretty wild for me.
Yeah, that's a pretty good story. I mean, a lot of people, they see, what's in their face kind of like all the time, and they don't take the time to kind of dive in depth. And that's what I love about this podcast, of being able to, like, people tell their story and get more like in depth of like where you came from, not just like what you do, but who you are, and how you, created who you are, is, I think, essential to understanding each other. And amazing of, obviously you started, bass player, rock band, it's not for you. And you paved your own path because you knew who you were, and you wanted to, shoot for the stars. And you got a new album coming out this spring. What is that album mean to you, and what can listeners expect from that?
So throughout the years, I have always approached albums as a snapshot of where I'm at in life. And I have about 4 or 5 of those albums out at the present. And I looked up, right, I guess really during COVID, and realized that I had not written my story since I had one kid and was then a single dad trying to figure it out and trying to find new love, and which I have now found. And we're going on 9 years of that. So there were some of the early days of some of those songs that I had in there, but the perspective of being a father, being happy in love, and not just living heartbreak over and over, those things I had not really put out. And so I really wanted to focus on that for this album.
Yeah. And I think the vast majority, I mean, people understand that like country music is, that heartfelt storytelling type of music, and a lot of people, if they, listen to the lyrics and understand the artist, they can better understand like, where that music is coming from, what place that music, that song, those lyrics are coming from, and you said it with like, let it ride, let it roll, kind of let things roll off your back. And it's a testament to just you being able to understand you as an artist and the direction that you want to bring your music, and, even managing it, as a family man, as a father, and everything else. How has it been for you, kind of managing both worlds, and blending them together at the same time?
I try my best to incorporate the family as much as possible now. Let them be a part, let them be on the side stage, and then sometimes even come up to the forefront with me. This past Christmas time was our first time to put on a kind of a Christmas variety show. And I think that's going to become a family tradition now, because we had so much fun doing that, having all the kids take their own little part and work on their presentation that they wanted to give. And we had so much fun with that. And I think that's going well, I shouldn't say I think. I'm certain that that's going to become a family tradition for us.
Nice. Now with your kids and stuff, I mean, they're both, they're all musically talented in their own way. How has that been with your family? You guys like kind of sit down, sometimes sing or play instruments together, and how is that, kind of journey, seeing them grow in that aspect as well, kind of following in your footsteps?
I feel very blessed that they have taken a liking in a kind of similar directions. My wife is also a phenomenal singer, and she's going to be guesting on this new album also, which might be news for some folks. Um, I sat down to write a duet purposely to write a duet for her and I, and it was pretty funny when I was writing it. I kept calling her in the middle of the write. I was writing with some friends of mine, and it was, babe, would you say this about me? It was kind of awkward to write a verse for her to sing that I was talking about myself, and was like, hey, wait, would you say this about me?
Right.
Do you love me that much? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but I mean, it kind of, and I want to put it in perspective for like the watchers and listeners, as a singer songwriter, right? You're taking that in-depth dive into how you think other people see you or talk about you, right? And it's one of those perspectives, right? Where if we all kind of did that self-reflection and that deeper aspect, we can understand ourselves a little bit better, and we can understand the people around us a little bit better, and be that much, better of a husband, a friend, a father, and everything else. And, I'm glad you said that, because I mean, it's a testament to your music and the individual that you are.
Well, I appreciate that. It's not the easiest thing to do, to look in the mirror and say, okay, this is what's good, and then here's what I need to work on. I recently, in fact, this past week, sat down with a whiteboard and put a line down the middle of it. And on one side, I put the things that of where I'm at, and it was hard to do, but I sat down and put down where I'm at and what I feel are things that I need to work on. And then on the other side, what I have the abundance of, the work ethic, things like that, and where I would like to be. And it was a pretty good eye opener for me to sit down and do that. And it took, I'm talking about 3 or 4 hours, maybe 5 hours worth of just sitting there with a whiteboard and writing down those things. And I feel like I come out of that with a new perspective and a new drive of where I want to go.
Yeah, that's good. And has it helped you, just not with the perspective, but obviously it's, you're probably putting stuff down of personal and professional growth, of where you're at right now and where you want to be,
Yes.
and, how is that, been able to help you, as you continue with your music and grow your family stronger and those bonds and everything else?
I've had the opportunity to be pretty dang close to the top when it comes to the music industry. Coming from winning The Voice, that was like throwing rocket fuel on a career, and you're like, boom, you're way up in the air, and all of a sudden, money's not an object, and you're jet setting around the world. You're getting, there was times where people would pick me up in their private jet, and I got picked up in a Phantom. Uh, Rolls Royce at the airport and jetted off to go play a show, and seeing all of those kind of things. And then also, I mean, literally 3 months before that, I was living on a friend's sofa with everything that I owned in a storage unit. And so it's
Wow.
the music industry has a lot of ups and downs, and I've been able to experience a lot of those. And for me, it's finding the balance between both of those aspects. I don't want to be living on anyone's sofa anymore, especially I owe that to my 5 children and my beautiful wife, to not be in that situation. But then the reality of jet setting around and all of that is not exactly, it sounds like it would be great, but there's a lot of loneliness that's in that, because a lot of that time you're by yourself, and you just want to be around people that have your best interest at hand and not just need something from you. That was where I found myself at. And when you don't have the career or up to standard, or you haven't had that last press hit that puts you in the limelight, your value starts dropping, and then you have the people that you thought were trying to help you out were really just trying to get something from you, and then they start falling by the wayside, and it leaves you being the one to continue to hold that candle and hold the fight, and we're going to push forward. And that's where I found myself at. Even now, we're putting together a new team around me that can help me achieve the goals that I want to set. But to put that team around yourself, you have to know where you want to go. And that's why I was doing the whiteboard stuff. Is just to sit down and, like, this is where I want to go. Now, who do I need around me? What kind of folks do I need around me to help me achieve those goals?
Yeah. So I want to kind of unpack that a little bit, because you hit home on a lot of stuff that even the veteran community feels, and this is why I love what I do. And in your travels, you have the emptiness, that loneliness, the sense of belonging, of being around your people, right? Being around your family, being around the loved ones and everything else, your daily routines that most of the time, so often, we take for granted. you know and it takes time and experience to be able to say to yourself, I don't want to take that for granted, because in the experience that you've had traveling, you go, you know what, the people that were here when I was up here, they weren't with me from the beginning. Maybe they're going to be with me till the end of time, but the people that drop off and everything else, they only are with you because you're here, right? And we have that in the veteran community as well, and a lot of people experience it, and this is why perspective is so important in all different aspects of wherever you get it from. Because you coming back home, and it's not necessarily a wartime or being deployed or anything else, but it is similar in the
It's
aspect of
very similar. Yes.
aspect of feelings, the aspect of what you feel and hear and think and hear, you know and that changes your perspective on life. It changes how you treat people. It changes every minute of your day of understanding who you are, where you want to go, and who you want to surround yourself with. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because it is important for anybody, not just the veteran community. And this is I'm a veteran myself, and this is a veteran owned podcast, but anybody can take value in the words, your experience, and what you've been through, and not just veterans can be able to take a little bit away, from what I say, what you say, or anybody else that comes on this show. So beautifully said, man. I appreciate you opening up about that, and just amazing journey that you've been through so far.
Man, I am blessed to be able to share stuff like that, and I try to now run my life. I realized that a lot of times people didn't understand where I was at. They just thought everything was hunky dory, and it was, I was on top of the world. He's got it made, and that's really when I probably felt the loneliest. I was on the road for, I believe, I want to say, yeah, 2015, 2016. I was on stage 240 plus days a year, and that doesn't include the travel days. And it was again, I saw every single state in the contiguous United States, include well, and then also Alaska. Um, I'd been to every single one of those, but I saw them through the windshield or through the side window of a bus, and didn't get to experience any of those places really.
Right.
That was the wild part of it, and that's one of my goals that's on my whiteboard, is that I want to experience all of those places again, but be able to take my family and see those places, because I know that they were beautiful. But I got to experience them again from the window or the side view mirror of a vehicle, and it was wild.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the big point is, as an artist, and as you grow, and even artists that, have, made tremendous leaps and bounds, the point is we're all still human. And at the end of the day, when the cameras turn off, when the microphones are off, and nobody's around to, have that support, on stage and stuff like that, the real world sets in, you know, and we have to just kind of remember, like you said, who am I surrounding myself with when that's all turned off? And I just want to be me, you know, and it's not what you do, it's who you are, and people have to have that light switch. They talk about, let's go, time to turn it up, time to turn it on, it's go time. You go on tour, you do this, whatever, and that light switch goes off. And if you don't surround yourself and have those pillars and the support and stuff, like you said, it becomes lonely. It becomes, there's a sense of emptiness. And it's very important for anybody to be able to understand when you're at your highs, you're going to have your lows. And I think it was Morgan Freeman. There was a very short clip that came out. I don't remember if it's Morgan Freeman, but he's sitting around the table with some pretty prestige, actors and stuff, and he's talking about, this too shall pass, right? And you're at your highs, this too shall pass, right? And you're at your lows, this too shall pass, and that's the ebbs and flows in life, and understanding that even at, your worst times, you'll get through it. And at your best times, you'll find balance throughout your life as you go on.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to make sure that I do make it clear. It's, I feel like I've only scratched the surface of my ability and the level of success that I am meant to achieve, or have the ability to achieve, I should say.
Absolutely.
So I feel that drive even stronger than ever right now. And not just to take care of family, but I feel like it was something that was given to me by the higher power that allows me to be able to do that. And sometimes you just got to really focus and get that. Yeah, find that pinpoint. It's like, you're looking through it. We were out shooting guns yesterday with the family, and you throw the bottle out in the pond and you're going to shoot it, and you have to find that crosshairs, right?
Right.
The red dot shows you where you're shooting at, and that's what I've been trying to do is really get that red dot where it needs to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you have, shows, you've done shows all over the country as well as Sweden, Australia, and Ireland, and encompassing your family more. And, what do you have in April? You got, fellow Texas artists. You're going to be doing the Rock the Coast cruise coming up
Yes,
in April.
rock the coast cruise with our buddies Ken Foe and Chad Cook Band, David Adam Burns, who that kid has been with me. He and I have I've known him since he was 19 years old, and he has now had 11 number ones in a row out here in the state of Texas. And I'm so proud of where he's at and what's going on. And it's going to be a blast to be able to go hang out with all those boys. And that's another one of those, just surrounding yourself with the people that are really working hard and pushing forward and have positive influence on you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's funny is, I talk about perspective and everything else, but, one, I mean, country music's my cup of tea. You're right.
There we go.
Everybody's got their own genre. I've had from, I don't know if you heard Jen Ford. Jen Ford's a Texas girl. She's a U.S. Army veteran, and she's down there in Texas doing her thing. And I had Scotty Hasting on recently. The episode released. And it's just it's a positive energy thing, right? You want to surround yourself with positive energy people. You want to talk with like-minded people. For your trajectory in life in general. and doing it with this podcast, it brings me such joy to be able to talk to people and understand people a little bit more. It's not, Craig Wayne Boyd, the season 7 winner of The Voice. It's Craig and Ryan, right?
Exactly.
And we're talking, we're boys talking on a podcast, and that's how I view it, right? Because I try to like tune out all the other stuff, and people get so caught up in their everyday thing, and how many followers do I have? How many people are liking my posts, and all this other stuff. And it's like, yeah, it's important at some point to understand that, like, okay, people are actually seeing what you have going on, but at the same time, like, dumb it down, like, in order to like keep your brain healthy, right? You have to cut it off. I hate the fact that I have to be on social media platforms in order to grow this business. That's the God's honest truth. Like,
I am 1000% behind you.
I wish I had a team to be able to like manage my stuff, but like, even, building this studio that I have, and I'll show you when we're done with this episode, kind of what I got going on. But, I've built myself a 500 square foot studio. It's got its own little lounge and everything else. This is like my comfort space. Like, this is where I feel the best, right? Because I know it's business time. And with that, they say, well, don't mix business with pleasure. It's bullshit. Like, you got to do what you love, right? And yeah, I'm a police officer now. I served in the military, but that's not who Ryan Landry is, right? Ryan Landry is that person that just wants to help people, right? In any way, shape, or form, and let them tell their story. And I've come to understanding of that's me, and anybody that's listening, and you did it with your whiteboard, and stuff like that. And we continue to grow, and we don't close our minds off for growth. And you nailed it on the head earlier of like, people that are like, this is who I am and I'm not changing. And when you do that, you stunt your growth as a person, for you and everybody else that you're surrounding yourself with. And a lot of people sometimes, when you have a breakthrough and say, enough's enough, I'm ready to grow, and then you hit the road in a figurative sense, and you put the rubber to the pavement, and you do whatever you got to do to get and achieve your goals, your dreams, and everything else. It's just a phenomenal thing when things click. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, it's funny because we've literally this whole time broken down why I wrote the song that I did. And it doesn't sound like that's when you listen to the song on the surface, Let It Ride, Let It Roll. It's meant to be a fun feeling song, but it has a lot of introspective things going on it underneath it.
yeah. Well, that's what I do. That's how my brain works. When I listen to stuff, obviously, like, yeah, you got the rhythm and stuff, people got to get into it. But at the same time, if you take a minute, and I do this every single time, I even do it with like kind of my podcast once in a while. I'll listen to an episode to kind of have like self-reflection on where I started, where I'm going, what I'm doing now. And you sit there and you probably do it with your music too. You sit there and you close your eyes and you just listen to the lyrics, you listen to the instruments, you listen to what's going on, and you say to yourself, okay, I need to tweak this, I need to do this, it's not right yet, and whatever. And then all of a sudden the harmony and it just clicks, and then you're like, yep, the song's ready, and if people did that, in their life with whatever they have going on, they take a moment, 10 seconds, 30 minutes, whatever the case may be, and just close your eyes and you think about what you have, where you've come from, where you're going, and it will give you that inner perspective for yourself, and drown out all the noise. And your song, when I listened to it, I did exactly that. I closed my eyes, I listened to it, watched the video and stuff like that. But then I watched it, listened to it again. You close your eyes and you kind of think about what you got going on, you think about the lyrics, and you can kind of break it down. And that's how my brain works in a weird way.
Very nice. I
So,
noticed something else that you did, that I noticed with another artist, actually one of the biggest artists, Garth Brooks. And when he talks about himself, he always talks in third person, because that's Garth Brooks, the entity, and that is his. I wouldn't say it is his alter ego, but it is. That's his. Garth Brooks is Garth Brooks, the entertainer, and then
right,
there's probably Garth. You know,
right,
he's got the two different ways of looking at it, and that's for me. I find myself doing something similar to that, and it's CWB is the artist, and then there's Craig.
right, right. Let me take a moment and kind of process that. Did you just compare me to like how I do things to like Garth Brooks?
Well, I'd noticed that that's the way you were approaching how you were talking about your podcast, and I was like, that's pretty wild.
I am honored, dude. I am a huge Garth Brooks fan too. And Garth Brooks actually met up with Scotty Hastings. It's funny that you mentioned that. Everything kind of like falls into place, like when you're just involved with a forward positive projection. And I posted about it, his meeting with it and everything else. But to have that similar, even in a little bit in the realm of like the conversation of what I'm doing and Garth Brooks being mentioned, I'm honored that you brought that up, man, because he's an amazing individual. Eh, thank you. Thank you very much. That's all I got to
Absolutely.
say. That's all I got to say. So last May, let's dive into, obviously there's a lot of people, right? Season 7 and winner of The Voice, Team Blake. All right, we got to dive into this a little bit, man. What was that journey like, being on The Voice, going through, week after week of performing and everything else? How was that for you? Like, how was that for Craig, one? And then how was that for you as like an artist as you grow?
When I received the email asking if I was interested in auditioning for The Voice initially, I was on a friend's sofa with everything that I owned in a storage unit, trying to figure out life. And I truly thought that it was a joke because it came from a casting company. It was like, okay, one of these guys that I've worked with or something is trying to pull a prank on me, because there's no way that they would want me. And this is where my brain was at.
Right.
And I just felt really jaded and beat up at the time. I had been out on radio tour at that time with a single, incidentally called "I Ain't No Quitter." Another one of those positive thoughts that I was trying to push out and trying to sing to make my own brain believe it.
Right.
And everything was pulled out from underneath me. I pulled back into Nashville, and they were pulling the desk out of an office. They lost the funding for the record label, and here I was sitting in the top, well, right at the top 40. I was at 51, and I was mind blown. So I felt really beat up and jaded at the time. So when I got the email, I thought it was a joke, and I literally replied back, "Yeah, right." And I hit send. That's how jaded I was at the time. And Michelle McNulty was the casting director at the time, and I think she still is for The Voice. She replied back. She was like, "No, I'm serious. I would love. I believe in what you're doing, and I think you should do this." I was like, okay, well, let me get my head right about this, and I'll come do it. For me, I had been one of those guys that thought you had to be out there in front of people. I was playing the honky tonks all over the country, whether it be two people or 100 people, or sometimes I would get lucky and there would be 5 or 6 thousand people because I got in front of the right person. Um, so I was looking at it from that perspective of why would I go do TV, and then it hit me. All the people that I've tried to reach or have reached over the past 4 or 5 years, I can reach them at one time in all of a minute and 30 seconds, and I could be in their living room.
Right.
Why wouldn't you go do that? So I really was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to put on the hat of I'm going to learn, because I obviously don't know it all, or I would be a lot further along than I am. So that's that inner voice talking to me, that self-reflection, looking in the mirror. Okay, this is where you're at. This is where you think you should be, or this is where your reality's at. So I went to LA and did the auditions, and lo and behold, having the attitude that I had, which was, I'm here to learn. These people obviously know more about what I need to do. Now, I'm doing the right music, I'm singing the right songs. I'm not approaching this in the correct way. So that's what I went out there to do, was to learn, not really to win, because to me it's not a competition, because I guess in a way it is a competition, but I was more in competition with myself. What can I achieve? I know that this is where I can be, and this is where I'm at. This is the competition, is to get further along. And as it progressed, and then every week something new would happen, and I was on the top again. I was like, oh wow, okay. The confidence started coming back. And Blake was one of those guys that helped me out tremendously, in that fact that he saw the same thing that I was feeling. He was like, Craig, you're doing everything. You just stick to your guns, do what you do, and eventually people are going to dig it. They're going to figure it out, because the number one thing is to be authentic,
Right.
and
Yep.
be yourself. Now, go out there and be the best you that you can be. You can grow in that sense, as in hone your craft. Make sure, do vocal warm-ups. I'd never done that before. I'd never had a vocal lesson in my life, and it was, a decent singer, but I still learned so much from the vocal coaches that were on there, from Blake, pushing me to really stick to my guns. So that to me was a huge thing. And like I said, that's like pouring rocket fuel on a career. When you win that show, I was standing up there with, three other guys, and they call out, you know how those shows work. They call out, okay, in fourth place is so-and-so. Was like, all right, here we go. Oh, they didn't call my name. I'm still up here. And then they do it again. And I'm like, oh wow, there's two of us left. This is crazy. And then they like call my name as the winner of season 7, and immediately put a trophy and a microphone in my hand. I'm like trying to process what's going on. They're like, sing. Holy crap. And
Yeah.
that set me off on a whirlwind. And within that next 3 to 4 days, with very, very little sleep, I did Good Morning America 2 days in a row, was on E Entertainment. I met Donald Trump. He knocked on my dressing room door. I was like, is that singer in there? And sure enough, I got to meet him. Evidently, he watched the show. That was before he had ever announced to do anything, in politics. So I feel like, that was pretty wild.
Right.
It was on Ellen DeGeneres. I had to do it overnight, or back to LA from New York. And the night after I filmed Ellen, I got invited to a Christmas party, because it was Christmas time. And it was like, well, heck, why not? Go do the red carpets. And at the end of that red carpet is where I met my wife, who is now, we're about to celebrate 10 years.
Amazing. And my wife had, Blake Shelton came to Mohegan Sun, which is locally here, right around the corner from me. She gets like fangirl status. It is what it is. Whatever. Like, he's a dude. He's the dude's dude, right? He's the dude's dude. Just amazing individual. And I'm sure that you've count your blessings that you're able to get on the show, be on his team and stuff like that. I love watching it, the banter back and forth sometimes, and he's always got his cup, and but that experience, it helped you grow as an artist. It helped you grow as a person, and it made you understand kind of, a little bit about the like intense entertainment industry, because it's like go, 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 like all the time. That's what it seems like, how once everything was kind of all done, I have one very simple question, but then a more complex one. After you won and that was all done and everything, did you have something to eat afterwards? And what was it?
Oh my goodness. I believe yeah, we hopped on a private jet and flew off literally from the stage. They had my bags packed for me. We had to pack our bags before because they don't know who's going to win. So they literally grabbed my bags, and I was still in the clothes that I wore on stage, and was hopping on a private jet to New York. And not too it's what, about 4 or 5 hour trip, and there was a couple of snacks on board, but we literally landed and I went to a steak joint because I had to have a nice fillet.
Yeah.
I think that was my first meal after winning.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I'm sure like the nerves kind of settled, and everything. How long did it kind of like, kind of hit you and you're able to kind of process it?
I don't think I processed it for weeks, because I was of the mindset that this is my opportunity and it's time to work. And so that was literally what my first thoughts were like, okay, what all do I need to do? What do I need to do to be prepared, prepped, and ready to take full advantage of this opportunity that I just got thrown in my hands?
Right.
So it took me a while to process, and maybe that was the wrong thing to do. I should have, looking back at it, I should have enjoyed those moments maybe a little bit more. But I was just so thankful and grateful that I had the opportunity to push forward something that I've been working for, pretty much all of my life, that was now in my hands, and I better take full advantage of it because I don't want to lose it.
Right. So with the new album coming out, what can people kind of expect as far as the feel of it, what it means to you? Just kind of a recap on that because it comes out this spring.
Mhm.
Do we have a launch date for it? Is there a definitive date for it?
I don't have an official date for it yet.
Okay.
I have, as any artist is, until they rip it out of my hands, it's never done.
Right.
And recently wrote some tunes that I feel I want to make sure and have on this album. So there's that, and I believe we're going to be going in the studio over the next few weeks to finish those up. But there was a couple more things that I wrote that I wanted to make sure and have on this album. So we're going to get in and do those. But so far as the content of this album, I went back even into a couple of songs that I wrote early on in my career that I've revisited. Some of those are, fun tunes, some of the honky tonk stuff, but then one in particular is one that I wrote called Gospel of the South that I'm very, very proud of. I wrote this song coming from a place of going back, and it's a true story for me. When I moved to Nashville, I would take the road all the way back to Texas, every month or two to visit family, trying to keep grounded. And one of those moments, I was driving through Memphis and I was flipping the radio station because I had I had told you I had an old red Chevy pickup truck.
Yeah.
There was no XM in that thing, I promise. So you listen to AM or FM, and
Yeah.
I was flipping through, and I landed on a radio preacher, and they had the organ playing in the background, and it was hellfire and brimstone. But I got stuck on it for a minute, and I was listening to it, and it was just tears came to my eyes. It was like, man, it really took me back to where my mom had me, in church as a kid. And so I wrote from that perspective of experiencing that preacher on the radio, and he was talking to me like I'd lost my soul. And that's kind of where I was feeling. I was feeling like I was kind of, still trying to figure out where I was at and find solid ground. And right after I wrote the song, it got recorded by Alan Jackson. And I was so excited. I was like, here's my big break as a songwriter. And lo and behold, it never made the album. He recorded it and it didn't make the album. So I never touched the song until here recently. I was like, okay, now I feel like this is a song that I've lived enough life. I'm not just the honky tonker guy that I was trying to portray,
Right.
but I have this other side of me that I want to share with people. And so this song, I'm very, very excited to have it on this album.
Awesome. Yeah, that was going to be my next question, of a song that, everybody has like maybe that one per album or two per album that like really kind of hits home, hits you right in the feels type of thing. And I was going to ask you about that. But how was it? You're recently recorded in Steel Record Studio, boys, Leaf Shively and
Yes.
Kyle Roop, great dudes, great musicians. How was that experience down there?
We are working on he's working on a project that I am not allowed to speak about yet, but it is basically, I can say this part of it. It is a tribute album that they're working on. And I got to go in and pick one of my, influential artists, and I got to pick one of their songs to do. And I'm very excited about that.
That's awesome. Yeah, two great guys. They really have a great atmosphere. And I call Leaf once in a while just to check in on him. A great dude, just down to earth, guy. And it's an amazing place for artists to be able to go and everything else. And that's awesome that I'm going to have to call him. And
yeah, there you go. I'll let them tell you what we're doing. But
yeah,
Kyle Roop, he was my steel guitar player right off of The Voice. He was out with me on the road for quite a while.
Yeah, he is amazing. His talent's like really good.
His talent level is superb.
Yeah, yeah, and just how he kind of like hears, and I honestly think that he like kind of sees the notes like in front of him. You know what I mean? Like floating through the air, and it just flows into his fingers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, amazing individual. His musical ability is unparalleled. He's performed with many other people and everything else. But yeah. So, what else can we expect from CWB and the future in 2024 and moving forward?
Well, we're just working on getting this new music out. I'm going to continue to push out music. I want my goal on my whiteboard is I would like to be putting out an album a year, and over the next few years, I think that's important for me to stay on top of where I'm at musically and continue that story on as it progresses.
Yeah, that's awesome. And when this album comes out, you said you have a duet with your wife, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So when this album comes out and things get going and everything else, if you guys can take, some time out of your day, I'd love to have both of you on, talk about the album, talk about the song, what it means to both of you guys, performing it, coming up with it and everything else. Obviously we don't want to do too many spoiler alerts. But I'd love to have both of you guys on, and just be able to kind of process that, for the listeners and everything for Everlasting Veteran.
Absolutely. Well, it was wild because we were able to sing together on my Top Shelf album, and it was purely by accident that it happened, and I'm ashamed to say that it was by accident. Maybe it was meant to be. I would say that. I was supposed to record one of the tunes with Kelly Pickler, and she got tied up with her television show, and she couldn't fly in, and I was on a time limit. And so I called my wife and said, "Hey, can you be in the studio in about 45 minutes?" And she was like, "Why?" And it's like, "You have to come sing." And it was so cool that we actually got to do it then, but this time is much more purposeful.
Right.
And we got to debut that song on the Grand Ole Opry I believe, 3 days before my son was born. So she was fully pregnant. We did it on a Christmas Eve. And that really set me up to want to make sure that I can continue to include her on the albums with me.
Nice. Now, I do have to ask, I mean, the Grand Ole Opry is like the holy grail, right?
Yes.
It is legendary. It is nostalgic, history, and everything else. What is that like for you, being able to be on that stage? You've had the voice, you've had tours, but there's something about the Grand Ole Opry for every musician that has crossed that stage. And what is it meant to you to be able to perform there?
I've now performed there around, I believe, 28 times.
Wow.
And it never gets old. Every single time that I've been on that stage has been, you get the jitters, you get that excitement, and you want to go out there and do your best, and pay homage to those legends that have been up on that stage previously, and you hope you get invited back again.
Yeah. Now, is there a meaning behind the circle that's on the stage?
The circle on the stage is a portion of the original stage from the Ryman Auditorium,
Okay.
which was the home of the Grand Ole Opry for many, many, many years. And so the semblance of it is that the circle will never be broken. And they
Right.
sort of took out part of that circle and put it into the new the Opry House, and it's sacred for sure.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and thank you for that. So that way, people understand when you step in that circle, the meaningfulness, of the who's passed through and stepped on, that circle, and it's not just an auditorium. Anybody can build one, but, it speaks volumes to the culture and essence of the culture of, people that have been there before you and everybody else that's been in that place.
Yeah, for me, I won't go on that stage without being dressed up to the hilt, and I think that's part of the tradition of the Grand Ole Opry. Also, I feel like that's something that all people should do. If you have the ability or have the invite to be there, it's almost like going to church.
Right.
You should probably do your best.
Right. Yeah. And
Put on your best.
yeah, I'm one of those people, I'm not a huge, sweatpants person. I mean, I do wear them, but like I'm a jeans, that's like my go-to every single day. I have recently dived into the jeans with the blazer, which I'm like loving
Oh
right
yeah,
now.
that's a cowboy way right there.
That's like my go-to. I got a pair of cowboy boots that got the camo, and then there's an American flag stitch on the front and the back, and it's subdued, and they're all black. And that's like, one, they're comfortable, and two, it just has meaning to me, because I was in the military. I'm a goddamn American, so it just it's a feeling, that you have, when you dress up, even if you just have dress shoes, dress to the nines, like you said, and, you present yourself in a different way, um, it's a testament to people that want to bring themselves to the next level. You don't always have to be completely clean cut, stuff like that, but if you want to present yourself in a good way, you want to, I don't know, put your best leg forward, they say,
Mhm.
you know? So, hey, Craig, listen, man, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day, coming on the show, sharing your story, talking with me and everything else. And it's been an absolute pleasure. Is there anything else with the listeners and the watchers that we can expect from Craig Wayne Boyd moving forward in 2024 and beyond?
The big thing is to, if you want to know more of what's going on, make sure that you go to craigwayneboyd.com. From there, you can sign up for our mailing list. You can Also find me on all the socials from there. It's on the screen now. CWBYALL is where it's, which if you look at that, it's Cowboy All.
I saw that on your Instagram handle, and I'm like, okay, CWB, y'all, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I see it. All right, I see you, Craig. I see you. I see what you did there.
It was funny. I was changing. I walked into an event, and one of my buddies come up and he said, "It's Craig Wayne Boyd, y'all." And I was like, "Where the heck did you come up with that, man?" And incidentally, I guess I was my voicemail had messed up, and it was late night, and it said "State your name." So I was like, "It's Craig Wayne Boyd, y'all," and I never knew for a long time that was on my voicemail. So I dubbed myself Craig Wayne Boyd, y'all. So now I have 4 names instead of just 3.
Yeah, I like that Cowboy, y'all. Like that.
Yeah.
That's
Cowboy, y'all.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, man. That's good. Yeah, go check out Craig Wayne Boyd. Follow him on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, X. I still call it Twitter, just because I'm just this social media dinosaur over here. But I didn't have any of them besides Facebook until I started Everlasting Veteran. So, and it's been a journey, to say the least. I'll tell you that right now. Learning how to operate all this stuff and, getting stuff out there. I wish I had a full team. It'd make it a little bit easier.
My team is the wife and I at the moment, and like we are working on adding more team, but and it does make it a lot easier when you have a full team helping you out. Luckily enough, I do have a beautiful wife that keeps me in check and keeps me in line and helps me handle a lot of the social media stuff, which again, like you said, I'm not a big fan of, but we have to.
Yeah, you have to. That's how people communicate. It's part of everybody, their lives, but people have to understand it's how you choose to use it, of how you allow it to affect your life, is the bottom line. Use it in a positive way, the algorithms, and that's an hour and a half episode on itself of the stuff you click on that's negative. It filters into your stuff, so don't click on it, just stick with the stuff that's positive. Be a good human being at the end of the day, love your neighbor. That's all we can do, and things will fall into place.
That's right. And then on top of it, don't sweat the stuff that you can't control. That's the big thing.
Yep. Let it ride. Let it roll.
Let it ride. Let it roll.
Let it ride. Let it roll. I appreciate you. Anybody that's looking to support Everlasting Veteran Podcast, getting the future service dogs out, we have been able to get 5 service dogs out to 5 veterans in the birth of the program in the first year. Go to everlastingveteran.com. You can become a weekly subscriber at only $5, a cup of coffee. All right. It helps provide funding for the training, getting those service dogs out to veterans. Go follow Craig Wayne Boyd, y'all, on the socials. This dude is doing amazing stuff. He's got an album coming out. His wife's on it, an amazing individual, and he's letting it ride and letting it roll with his new single coming out. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate you, and I look forward to having you on again and doing another update.
Let's do it.
All right. I appreciate you guys. This is Ryan Landry with Everlasting Veteran Podcast.
Sunrise on the horizon, a fresh wind pushing my back. Pegged out on the dashboard, know if I'm going that I'll be going fast. So let it ride, let it roll. Pay no mind to the swerves and the curves and all I can control. Come